2 million people have signed a petition against it. And it's interesting, Adam, one of Starmer's arguments around why they need to implement this digital ID to be mandatory for all workers is it would help make borders more secure. I don't think he has any credibility on that issue. And if you want to look at, the United States of America, America managed to get its border under control without digital ID. But there is this genuine concern that, that there's this push for digital IDs really about, and it's being driven by money and this idea for greater control.
Yeah, certainly I think that is true. And just on the migration issue, of course, the US is not an island like the UK, so it should be much easier for the UK to control immigration than the US. But, this is not the problem that the British people wanted solved. They wanted the immigration issue solved. I mean, I think there's something like 4 million immigrants came into the UK in the last 4 years, most of them unwanted by the British people, let's be frank. And so the solution to that is not to send the illegals home, but to introduce this ridiculous digital ID. I mean, I suspect it's going to be very unpopular in the UK. Of course, as you said, it's going to be mandatory. He's already the most unpopular Prime Minister in British history. I think that's going to get even worse. And there'll probably be riots over this, I imagine, as well. I mean, it is a big change in the political philosophy of British governance, which used to be about free speech and freedom, and now they're going to introduce this. And the big concern I think for Australians is that this is going to come here too. I mean, we just saw Albanese at the British Labor Party, basically extolling the virtues of Keir Starmer, and so it wouldn't surprise me if we get a similar thing down here too. It's not about immigration ultimately.
No,
it's about controlling people more generally, controlling their speech online in particular.
Yes.
What's probably going to happen in Australia is the government's going to say, we need to do this so that we can verify your age when you log online and so we know what you're looking at, right? So it's all going to be about saving the children. But really, it just, it just leads to much greater government control.
Absolutely. No, it's not about the children, even though they might say that it is. You mentioned that Keir Starmer is now the most unpopular British Prime Minister in history. This Ipsos poll found that just 13% of voters are satisfied with the job he's doing. I mean, who are the 13%? But this is, of course, compared to 79% who are unsatisfied. So that leaves him on a net rating of -66, the lowest satisfaction rate for any PM recorded by Ipsos since they were set up in 1977. And Nigel Farage is viewed as the most capable Prime Minister. He's well ahead in the polls, and that does not surprise me, Adam.
No, that's certainly true. Look, I think there was a landslide when British Labor won a few years ago, but I don't think that it was for affection for Keir Starmer at all. Obviously, it was just basic lasting dissatisfaction with the Tories. So look, I mean, he's just not achieved what he said he'd achieve, and it's not just the immigration issue, which has certainly justifiably made the British government very unpopular, but it's also the price of energy. We don't see that as much in the media, but UK electricity is now the most expensive in Europe, and that's because of the rollout of wind power, basically. And so that's very badly affected people's cost of living. So that's been a big factor as well in his unpopularity. And if I was Anthony Albanese here, I'd be worried that some of those factors are basically going to be the same in Australia as well. We've got the immigration issue on the boil, and of course the power price issue as well. So some of those factors I think are going to be imported into Australia soon as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, Anthony Albanese has used a taxpayer-funded trip to a UK Labor conference to praise, left-wing leaders and progressive politics. Before he got up to speak, Keir Starmer told the audience that Mr Albanese was an inspiration and a partner in standing up to the divisive politics of the right. Now, Albanese had earlier said that he didn't want to see the rise of populist organisations such as Reform UK, headed up by Nigel Farage. Now, that's what the Prime Minister has been up to. But Adam, I want to get your thoughts on what's coming up in just a few weeks' time, this meeting between Donald Trump and Anthony Albanese. It is finally happening on October 20. Donald Trump has cancelled a couple of times before. He could still cancel, but this is set to be going ahead in Washington. Certainly comes with some risks. How do you expect it's going to go?
Yeah, well, look, I think it certainly does come with some risks. If I was Anthony Albanese, I'd be very worried about this 20th of October meeting. Of course, there's going to be a sit-down in front of the press in the Oval Office, as there normally is, and who knows what Donald Trump is going to say. There are many areas of disagreement with Australia at the moment. The defence spending issue, of course, the US wants us to spend much more. There's the Palestine issue, there's the climate change issue. So, there is any number of issues where there could be a great embarrassment for Albanese. I mean, there seems to be some good news out in recent days that apparently the Pentagon has green-lighted the first phase of AUKUS, that is the submarine sales. So let's hope that is true. But look, it's about time that he's got this meeting, but it's certainly not without risk, that's for sure.
And just finally, back home, skynews.com.au is reporting that budget papers reveal the full extent of this Albo wave mass immigration experiment, that it's on a totally different scale to anything Australia has ever seen before. Looking at the budget papers and projections, 2 million migrants would have been added to Australia's population by the end of Albo's second term, according to those numbers. So 2 million, and that's 2 million new migrants in a country of 27 million people, which, as of course we know, that means that's 2 million more people on the roads, looking at rentals, in emergency rooms, at universities. Can I get your reaction to this?
Yeah, well, look, that's going to be 1 in 14 Australians, I believe, and, it is very stark. I think the point to make there is just in relation to the UK. So the influx here has just been so much greater. I mean, their population's almost 3 times ours, and they've had 4 million, and we've had 2 million. So, that's pretty basic maths that shows we've had far more immigrants per capita. And the interesting thing to me is there hasn't yet been the pushback, but I think it's going to come. And it's, I mean, you could say it's testament to Australians' character. We're very welcoming. We've been very good, but there are limits to that, I think, and the government really needs to be wary of that.
I think very well said, and I think you're right. I think time will tell, and we'll see how this plays out. Adam Creighton, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much.